This is the story of a brave soul
Hello, sir. Get out of here.
who is trying to find his destiny.
Can I learn how to work the sheep today?
Get him up, pig.
Remember, you have to dominate them. Bend them to your will. Ruff, 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 ruff.
He knew his path would not be easy,
I'm not sure if you realize how much the other animals are laughing at you.
It's not a duck that thinks it's a rooster, it's a pig that thinks it's a dog.
He should accept what he is and be thankful for it.
but now he's determined
They're sheep. They're inferior.
Oh, no, they're not.
to take care of business
All a nice little pig like you need do is ask.
his way.
Thanks very much. It was very kind of you. A pleasure. What a nice little pig.
From Universal Pictures comes the story of Babe,
You look like an intelligent, sophisticated, discerning young fella. Who, me?
the pig with the gift of gab,
La la la.
nerves of steel,
Get out of here, you big buttheads.
and a heart.
May I call you
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, how long it's been. Jay Saki here, coming in with a review. Because that is how much I love you. So I recently watched Babe from 1995. It was the second movie I ever saw in theaters. First Toy Story, and then this. I don't remember my exact feelings at the time, but I think I was still growing and still getting used to having strong opinions on movies seen on the big screen. I think about 6 months later my mom rented the movie again and I watched it again, but since then I never saw it again. So now it's like 28 years later or something, and I went back to revisit. So what's it about? Farmer Haggett buys a young piglet he names Babe. He takes him back to the farm, and then we follow the story of Farmer Haggett and Babe and the many hijinks that ensue. And that's about the best premise I can give this movie. Now, previously I made a social media post about this being one of the strangest Dark Descent movies I'd ever seen. I got some pushback on that statement, and I confess I was being a bit hyperbolic at the time. It was not a Dark Descent, but it was a down the rabbit hole kind of story, which I have a thing for. Dark Descent movies are by their nature down the rabbit hole stories, but not all down the rabbit hole stories are a Dark Descent, like in the case of Babe the Pig. What does down the rabbit hole mean, Jay Saki? It means a story you begin and there's no clear end goal in sight, and you just have to keep going further and further down to see how deep it goes. Much like Alice in Wonderland, which of course is the original down the rabbit hole story. And that is much like Babe. He gets to the farm and the story takes off. He meets animals. He's both liked by some and disliked by others, and you just have to keep watching to keep going down the rabbit hole and see how deep it goes. Overall, I think I liked this one. Hard to say why. I got the sense I was watching something with love and care. While thinking this movie over, I thought I'd critique the writing. My thoughts were the writing felt sparse. There's all these farm animal characters that feel underwritten. You remember a horse and a cow and some dogs and a sheep, but they all just come in and out, say a few lines, and move on. So I was going to say the writing wasn't the best and it was underwritten, but then while doing research I discovered this was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay among many other things. So me perceiving the rating as poor at moments would be like me perceiving a painting as being bad, only to be reminded it's a Da Vinci. At that point I should be humble enough to admit I could be wrong. Maybe my negative perception is me and not the movie. So I thought it over, and it occurred to me that maybe what I was perceiving as poor writing was in fact writing that was beyond me. Did most of the other animals seem underwritten? Maybe the idea is that any single animal isn't a character so much as the farm as a whole is a character. You've got Babe as a character, Farmer Haggett as a character, and the farm itself is a character. And if that is what the writers were going for, then perhaps they nailed the writing and the writing is perfect. So I wanted to talk about something else I liked in this movie, since I like specifying iconic moments I remembered. There's a bit where there's a duck named Ferdinand, and he gets Babe in on a scheme to steal the farmer's alarm clock for reasons. And this leads to both Ferdinand and Babe getting chased by the cat in the house and making a huge mess. And this leads to a bit where the narrator of the movie goes, "The subject in the house was then what they would have for Christmas dinner that year. Roast pork or roast duck." And I'll be honest, I found that moment hilarious. This eventually leads to a scene where they are serving roast duck at Christmas dinner, and some of the animals are looking in through the window, and then Ferdinand the duck shows up from the side, and they're like, "Oh, Ferdinand, you're alive. So who's that they're eating?" And Ferdinand says, "That's Rosanna. So some other duck you've never seen is being eaten." Needless to say, I laughed out loud. I'm trying to take more time to let movies marinate in my mind to see how my thoughts change. Upon finishing Babe, my verdict was I would watch it again, but with time, I'm not sure I feel strongly one way or the other. It did have a lot of charm, and it felt like an artifact from another time. I was not bored, and not boring me is high praise. I appreciate the effort, but I'm not sure I got enough out of it as a whole to want to return to it. But hey, that could just be me. Mind you, we have a sinful nature that can prevent us from appreciating great art as much as we should. So maybe this little movie is just beyond me. I'll say this for now. Babe was not offensive. It would not be made today. It was a positive portrayal of rural sensibilities. It is safe for kids. It's more adult than that Animal Farm movie that came out a few years later, and the duck character Ferdinand was funny. So, what did I learn? I learned back in the day movies put an excruciating amount of effort into working with animals and animatronics. I learned this movie was not called Babe the Pig, it's just called Babe. I also learned that it was based on the book The Sheep Pig from 1983. But I didn't learn that from the movie, I learned that from extra research. But doing extra research is important to growing as a person. But Jay Saki, what life lesson did you walk away with? I think I learned that maybe I should strive to have hope even in old age, and to try doing something completely random like buying a random pig I don't think I need. I'll probably buy a car instead though. Remember audience, art is only as good as your willingness to learn. That is all I have. Catch you in my next video where I talk about Babe, Pig in the City. See ya then.